Good evening and welcome to another episode of the WVU Alumni Webinar Series. Tonight, we'll be joined by Dr. Jorge Atiles. He's the Dean of Extension and Engagement and the Director of the WVU Extension Service. Before joining the team at WVU, Dean Atiles served as an Associate Dean at Oklahoma State University and served in a number of roles at the University of Georgia and in local government. An innovative and dynamic leader, Dr. Atiles is committed to furthering WVU's mission of teaching, scholarship, and engagement through strategic action while creating opportunities associated with the diverse programs in the Extension Service. He's focused on strengthening communities by working collaboratively with key partners to expand outreach and programming opportunities that address the needs of West Virginians. We are extremely grateful that he's a leader here at WVU and for the entire state of West Virginia. Dean Atiles, welcome.
Hello, Meredith. How are you today?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, greetings to you and hola.
Hola. So as a guest in our 5 questions series, we'll be presenting you tonight with 5 big questions to answer for the audience, followed by a round of rapid fire questions for us all to get to know you a little bit better. And then if time allows, we'll have some moments for some Q&A from the audience. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful. I'm ready.
All right. So with that, I'd like to remind the audience that if you have a question you'd like to ask, be sure to drop it in the comment section so that we can be sure to ask it here at the end. And so with that, Dean Atiles, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So the work of extension and engagement in the WVU Extension Service is just incredibly important to WVU and West Virginians in all 55 counties. But for those in the audience who might not be aware of what that work entails, could you talk to us about the purpose of Extension Service and what your leadership role here entails?
Yes. Once again, good evening, everybody. And I am so privileged and honored to be here with you tonight. And let me tell you about Extension. So some of you who are alumni from the university probably know what Extension is, or you think you know what Extension is because you may remember what Extension was. But Extension in land-grant universities like West Virginia University are a critical part of what the university is. You may recall that universities were created, public universities, during the times of Abraham Lincoln. We were created in 1862. Then you have another act that created research because we were teaching people who otherwise could not actually go to college because college was reserved for the privileged, for the wealthy. So the power of higher education was put in the hands of every person across the nation to learn. Then to understand that research was able to bring discoveries to solve some of the most critical problems. But we were still missing one thing. And in 1914, Congress created the Smith-Lever Act, right? Which founded Extension, the Cooperative Extension Service, which is in every single state and territory of the United States of America. And here is housed at West Virginia University and also at West Virginia State University. So what that means is that Extension is charged with understanding the needs of the communities. We are charged with working with those people who are not currently enrolled in college. I think the country wanted to make sure that everything we were doing at the university, people had access to it as well. So we were helping originally, farmers, homemakers, and later youth through 4-H programming and so forth, be able to access scientifically based information that can help them improve their lives and their livelihoods. And that mission has not changed in the 100+ years since we have existed. So West Virginia has been privileged to have the Extension Service. It's a cooperative agreement between federal, state, and local governments. So the federal government, through USDA, provides funding to the university. Then the state must match the funding. And then local communities through county commissions and also boards of education also provide funding to then have that tripartite nature of how we work. Now, you know that there's not a whole lot of money out there to go around when it comes to government. So we work hard to find money in other places. We apply for a lot of grants. We have an active development program that asks people for, do you believe in us? What do you want to see change in this wonderful state? And how can we be of help? So there are many ways in which we secure funding for exercising our mission in each of the 55 counties in the state. So that's in short how extension is created. Our mandate, again, is to improve lives and livelihoods. So that's why we have worked over the years with the agricultural sector to improve their yield, to have better practices to protect our natural resources. And West Virginia is a proud state, the mountain state. We have so many amazing, natural resources that we need to protect at the same time that we need to allow people to make a living. We also work, which is one of the most popular programs of extension, with 4-H youth development. So every county has a 4-H program. Many counties have their own campsites. We have the first campsite for 4-H in the nation in Jackson's Mill. So that location in Lewis County is historic. It's actually 100 years old. And that reminds me that we have a lot of things to do about that because, the aging infrastructure and learning a lot about what needs to be done, and everything has a price tag. So we're working on that. But one of the important things that I think is important for those of you who are listening today, I think it is an obligation for a land-grant university to ensure that every person that goes through the university knows all what is to be known about a land-grant university. Many universities like ours sometimes have people who graduate and then never heard of extension. They don't know that existed. They had no idea. So part of one of my goals is to ensure that everybody knows a little bit about extension and that they can get involved.
So what a cool job that you have to be charged with improving lives and the livelihood of people in this incredible state, right? So
yeah.
I know that you're going to say there's no average day for you, but could you give us a sneak peek into what a couple average days might look like for you in this job?
Well, frankly, probably one of the most challenging things about the job is be able to juggle many different interests, many different opportunities. They are amazing opportunities. They are challenges, of course, and I love challenges, and that actually motivates me and gives me purpose. We have programs in health and nutrition. We got programs in labor studies. We have programs in Fire Service Academy. We have programs in occupational safety and health, in addition to the agriculture, tourism, development, and youth development, Energy Express. It's a lot of different things that we do because people have a lot of needs and there are a lot of things that we could be doing. So it is amazing every day to connect, particularly in this new job, being new to the university, less than a year during the pandemic. Try to get to know people, try to make connections, try to find how do we together can work towards addressing the most critical issues affecting the state and its people. So one day I spent a lot of time on Zoom, and I was showing you this earlier. I have one of these things so I can actually, like massage my back and behind and everything. So we can actually get, moving because you sit so long on these meetings, but it's critical to be able to do that. Some days I'm working with faculty directly, trying to help them with logic modeling so we can determine which outcomes we're going to be able to identify from those programs that we implement to ensure that we are doing good and no harm, and that we can also be able to be accountable to those bodies that fund us. Because that money could be going to something else. So we need to ensure that if you're investing in us, we are doing programs that are changing lives, that are allowing people to adopt the best behaviors that they can adopt and be able to improve again their life and their livelihoods.
Oh, and this work is so important. I have so many questions for you.
Well,
So
let me go on, because I think you told me I could go on a little bit.
Please go on.
I'm gonna take that chance. So, COVID, wow, what a challenge! What an amazing challenge! But I am so impressed about West Virginia University and the state and how we have been able to handle COVID and how we have been able to lead the nation when it came to testing. Now we need to do the same thing with vaccination. But the opportunities that we had as an extension service, because we are part of communities throughout the entire state, were amazing. I was so proud to be tapped as a system within the university to be able to assist with the deployment, with the awareness raising, with many other things, focus groups, you name it. We have done, I mean, we actually had a vaccination site in Jacksonville. So there's a lot that we have been done. So that could be any day of the week. There's something always about COVID and plans of that. There's also something about, like I mentioned before, infrastructure, getting phone calls. Well, now we have to fix this or we have to fix that. Do we have the money to do this? Well, I'm trying to figure out if we have the money to do that, because I'm now getting, accustomed to the budget that we use here, the requirements. And I have to say, on that everyday experience during the time here, I come in contact with so many people and I feel so supported, not only by upper administration, like President Gee and the provost who I report to, and her office, but anybody I contact here at the university has a positive attitude and a can do, how can I help attitude that is really, really amazing.
Well, if you haven't learned already, you'll quickly adopt the Mountaineers Go First mantra. Yeah. And you'll start to hear it all the time.
I always like to go first. Perhaps because I'm a little bit impatient.
I can relate to that. So you mentioned a little bit about the land grant mission and how integral that is in the work of WVU Extension, especially. And I know that requires a lot of collaboration, not just throughout the state, but also, within the university community. So could you tell us a little bit about how Extension works with different units on campus to find creative ways to give back to West Virginia and its people?
Oh, thank you for that question. So one thing that perhaps people don't realize, how, if you remember, what are the missions of the university, right? Is teaching, research, and service, right? Well, Extension does each one of those. Mm-hmm. Granted, we don't typically teach in the classroom here on campus. Well, physically we could, but we don't teach for credit. We don't grant degrees, but we teach. That's why we have our county agents are educators, and they teach people about things, right? We also do research because we have to do needs assessment to understand what are those needs of the community, what are they struggling with. Bring those back to the campus. And then work with faculty, with state specialists who are also faculty in Extension, to figure out what is the latest science as around this issue. What does it tell us? What kind of programs can we create to be able to address, an issue like hunger or diabetes? We have an excellent program that has been adopted nationwide called Dining with Diabetes. So that then is turned into opportunities to teach, right? And also to provide service. So sometimes people think, Extension, that's part of the service mission. Well, we do all three missions. And for that, we must partner. Mm-hmm. And particularly now where there are frankly less resources throughout higher education, and particularly after a pandemic, and an economic crisis, we must partner, because the solution to the most wicked problems cannot come from one group or one discipline. So we actively partner with the Chambers College. We have a phenomenal partnership with Dean Javier Reyes. We work on financial literacy. We are partnering on many other things that are yet to be, disclosed. But we are working on building capacity to be able to together take that knowledge to the people that we serve.
Mm-hmm.
There's also active partnerships that we have, obviously with Davis, which always being a brother or a sister to Extension. We have actually some faculty who are jointly appointed. I'm happy to say Everly College is looking at actually having positions designated with Extension. So I am seeing a phenomenal opportunity to grow in the partnerships. We have partnerships with public health that we are strengthening. We have some of our faculty who are actually pursuing their PhD in public health because it's a good match with many of the programs that we do. I know we partner with engineering, but I want to partner even more because sometimes it's not only what you teach people. I'll give you an example. I am really bad about drinking water. So I always have my water, I fill it up and I have it there. So we can teach all we want about you must drink water. You need to be drinking water. But engineering help us figure out what kind of gadgets, what kind of tricks can we actually put out there for people to be able to adopt that behavior. You know what helped me? An app that reminds me every so often, drink water. So, and if I'm paying attention to the app, I do it. So there's a lot of things that we need to be doing together. Working with Dr. Clay March has been phenomenal, and we have a lot of pending conversations. I mean, he's quite busy, as everybody knows, and we are so grateful for the work that he's doing. But we need to talk about what does the health piece of Extension should look like, because again, we are in every single county. How can we be an arm of the university? Oh gosh, I don't want to leave anybody else out, but we also work with a lot of different partnerships that are coming through the provost office, around remote worker, around the water initiative, the bridge initiative. So there's a lot, and I want to see even more.
Well, so I'm very excited about some of the projects that I know you can't disclose yet, but I'm very excited to know what's on the horizon. But I'm glad that you mentioned the remote worker program, because from what I understand, Extension actually played a pretty significant role in the launch of that program. So could you tell us about the kind of the involvement of Extension and why is that program so important to West Virginia and important right now?
Sure. So let me clarify something. We were invited into the program. Mark Gavin, who is in the provost office, is wonderful. He understands Extension, so he always thinks of us. So I hope we're going to play a very significant program when the program is fully launched. But right now, we are extremely involved. We are actually joining in a position that is going to be jointly funded to be able to do the community engagement pieces of the remote worker, because we have to have our communities ready to welcome those remote workers. Mm-hmm. We have to think about what will be the quality of life for those people who are taking their livelihood remotely to those localities. And because we are trusted in those communities, it is always good if you are going to a county, a city, check out with the county agent there, because they can connect you well with the right resources. We can convene, we can bring the right people together and have difficult discussions about things that need to happen. The know-how, the who and who not you reach, that's important. And I'm minimizing that piece right now because there's even more that we do. Remote worker has to be tied also to economic development, tourism development, agritourism, schools, hospitals. So we can have a piece in every single one of those areas. And so this is going to be a long relationship that we are just anxious to get even more fully involved. And thank you for asking, because I think for West Virginia is important. And COVID actually heightened that. it has been okay not to work in the office every day and be able to work from home and be able to look out and see, although I love the view of my office, I can get to see the Monongahela River. So I'm not complaining. But a lot of people realize that they can work away from a building, from the crowded
Sure.
city, from having to pay ridiculous amount of parking and the stress of commuting and all that. And they could relocate to probably one of the most beautiful states in the nation. Out there to say probably the most beautiful states, as I have gotten to know it even better, where you can actually have a healthy lifestyle that goes with your work. So perhaps it might be the key to balance life and work. If people decide, I'm going to give West Virginia a chance, I'm going to work remotely, I'm going to find a phenomenal place to relocate, to have access to some resources and enjoy the beautiful hikes, the beautiful water, the beautiful everything that we have.
I hope so. Those are the things that brought me back here. So
Well, yeah.
I am always excited to share this with hopefully many more people than just that initial group from Ascend. So
Well, and I don't know. I don't know. You know this from looking at my Vita, but I have a degree. I went to Virginia Tech.
Mhm.
Sorry for those of you who might not feel, but that's what brought me here to the U.S. That's where I met my beautiful wife of 31 years. And so West Virginia, my major professor, my dissertation professor was a West Virginian. She grew up in mining country. And so I always had an affinity and a love for the beauty of West Virginia. And now living here, I'm falling in love even further. But what I want to tell you is, that urban and regional planning degree I got from there, and plus then my housing degree, I can tell you that for remote work to really work, we need to prepare ourselves as cities. And we have phenomenal faculty in extension that work with faculty from all over the campus in trying to ensure that community are thinking about what will it take for us to be competitive in this new market? What will it take for us to be able to have the right kind of planning, the comprehensive plan, a transportation plan, a zoning plan, an environmental impact assessment, all those kinds of things that are needed to be able to have a livable community that people will want to live in.
Absolutely. So switching gears a little bit. So I know, you have lived and worked in quite a few university communities, some with very robust extension programs. And based on that experience, what do you believe the future of cooperative extension to look like? And what do you think is in store for the future of WVU extension?
All right. So thank you. I was at the University of Georgia. That was my first job in extension. Actually, my first job in extension was in Virginia when I was a student. But then my first faculty position in extension was at the University of Georgia, and then I went to Oklahoma State, where I was for the last 10 years. Every state is a little bit different. There's a core set of values and principles, but every state works a little bit different. And Oklahoma had, 77 counties. Georgia had 159 counties. So I feel great that now I only have 55 counties. But what I see here that is really strong is that connection at the local level with the county commission and with the boards of education. They're really working together along with other entities. And, by statute, actually, extension must have an extension advisory committee, and it's decided who needs to be part of that, plus additional people. So Board of Ed, County Commission, Farm Bureau, etc. So that builds a sense of togetherness. I was going to say ownership, but yes, I think everybody should feel that they also own extension, because we are here to serve you. And I hope that everybody who's listening today, if you have never used the services of extension, if you have never made that phone call or looked into our website, please do. You might be surprised what you might learn. So when I think about our assets. You know, we have assets and we have liabilities, and that's what I'm doing this for years, trying to figure out what those are, so I can develop my own plan of work and figure out, oh, this is what I need to tackle. So assets, we have in every county an amazing set of faculty members and staff. They are so committed. To that, we add volunteers. And so a set of volunteers include not only the 4-H and youth development volunteers, but also master gardeners, and also I'm gonna mess this up, COS, Community Education Outreach Service, which are also all throughout the state, about 4,000 people. And all of them do things to build community, to build individuals, to build youth, to build family. And without them, we could not even do as much as we can, because, you know, 1 or 2 person per county, in some instances, in some counties, you know, they have better, you know, incomes and they are able to afford to add more personnel plus what we can afford. We cannot get all the job done, but it takes that kind of partnership. And I'm planning to really look closely as to how do we develop those volunteers, how we support them. So, because in a way, they're us. Yeah, they don't get a paycheck from the university, but you know, they're us too, and they're you. We have some opportunities to pair. We have a lot of program priorities that have been checked with stakeholders and so forth. I think it's time for us to also look, particularly because after this pandemic, what are the new most critical issues for the state of West Virginia? And ensuring that our program priorities have a good match. Because again, I'm very big on accountability. We need to be able to demonstrate always that what we do matters. That, you know, if we invest in time and effort, that is towards something that will yield something good. And our impact statements are amazing. We do phenomenal things, but I never take it for granted. And we can continuously improve upon that. So for that, the future involves also more fine analysis of the overall impact of the programs that we deliver. Economic impact, long-term impact on families and businesses that we serve. So we can always have that to demonstrate the difference that we make. And also, you remember I said, do no harm. When we evaluate our programs, then that will also tell us what's not working. So we can go back and change the programs. If it's or decide we're not doing this program anymore, it's not yielding what we were hoping to do. Improve our delivery system, perhaps diversify the nature of the degrees that we hire people for. You know, so I see a future that is bright, because I do believe that more and more our mission is critical to the future of the state, and we have a role to play.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's so clear that you're passionate about this role, and I know that you are patiently waiting for this time of COVID to be behind us so that you can be fully out there again.
Yeah, we all need to do our part, get vaccinated. Let's get this over with quickly and hopefully put this behind.
Yes. So before we move on to some rapid fire questions to get to know Dean Atiles even better, I want to remind the audience already.
Oh my gosh, half an hour has gone quickly.
I know. So I just want to remind the audience to share any questions that you all might have in the comment section below. And then we'll get right to those after I ask Dean Atiles 10 very important questions that he will want to answer as quickly as he can. So, are you ready?
No. No. Yes, I'm ready.
We knew that was coming. All right. Your first question. What are you currently reading?
Oh, okay. So, thanks. Well, it is a rapid answer, right? It's hard with me. So I am reading The Lost City. Well, let me see. It's called Stuart Gibbs' book, Charles Thorne, The Lost City. And it's about Darwin and when he was in the Galapagos Island, and there's some sort of treasure that he hid somewhere, and we're trying to figure that out. But for reading, I select things that are sometimes silly, that are a story. There might be a crime, a historical fiction, something that will diversify what goes through my brain every day because of work. So, yeah.
I might have to find that book next to the library after you.
Well, I tell you what, they have Libby, they have all kinds of things. So you have to do the Morgantown Library, and libraries throughout the entire state are amazing. Subscribe and then download the app on your cell phone and then listen or read on it. And it's free.
If any of my friends are listening right now, they're laughing because they hear me say that all the time.
Yeah.
I am always telling everyone about the public libraries and the Libby app.
Yeah. And Hoopla. You can also get movies.
I love the Hoopla app.
Yeah,
you can do instant downloads on Hoopla right from the public library. No wait list. All right. Anyways, your next question is, what is your favorite meal?
Rice and beans. I know it's very stereotypical, but I grew up on an island in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic, and we eat rice and beans every day with something, with seafood, fish, whatever. Rice and beans. And so do my children. We taught them well.
I love that. All right. What's your favorite spot on WVU's campus?
Actually, because of COVID, it's hard to get around, frankly. But when I'm on campus, I really love my office. I like the view of the river. That's one of my favorite spots because I just look away and I get to relax.
Yes. If you come over here to visit, you can see the PRT go by. It's not as pretty as the river, but it still is nice and exciting.
Well, it goes by those of you who do not know, I'm in the Knapp Hall building, which used to be a dormitory, and I'm on the top floor, and I do see, the rails for there.
So, tell us about something that you recently have learned.
Oh, okay. So I have learned that we have a WVO forest, and I should have known that. And I went there, and then I took my wife, and we went through the trails, and we also discovered that you have a zip line and that you have ropes course, and they are state of the art. And the zip line is like the largest for any university in the nation. It's amazing.
It's beautiful out there.
Yeah.
What do you like to do when you're not working?
Well, now hiking is taking a humongous priority, but when things are normal, I like to play volleyball. It's great exercise, and I love it. And I also like to listen to Latin music and dance.
Do you do all three of those at the same time?
No, I don't think you can do hiking while playing volleyball, but I have danced while playing volleyball. And, people at Oklahoma State could probably tell you stories about that.
I'll have to ask some of our friends at Oklahoma State. What is your favorite WVU tradition?
All right. So I was gonna say I was very impressed to learn that President Gee takes the land grant mission so seriously and is so committed to it, and that he visits the counties every year. So last year, as a brand new dean, I was able to join him on virtual visits. So we visited all 55 counties via Zoom and met with the county office and all that. And it was so wonderful to get to know him better in that way and see his commitment to this important mission of the university. And so I like that tradition. So we're already talking about what's going to happen this year.
I love to hear that. Our next question for you is, what is a song that you can listen to on repeat?
There's so many. Oh gosh, this is hard. Wow. I'm without words right now because I have to say, I like different genre of music, and this is not a quick answer. I'm so sorry. I'm failing this part of the whole program. But if I were to pick a song that I could just keep listening and listening to, it would be probably something upbeat, disco or merengue. Fiesta Caliente is a song by a group called the Ilegales, and it's all very old, very old. I mean, I think it's the age of my son, like 28 years old, but I can listen to it all the time. It's upbeat. It makes me happy. It makes me smile. And then
we're all gonna add that to our upbeat playlist right after this.
All right. Hope you're not disappointed.
All right. All right. A couple more rapid fire questions for you.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
What is one thing you cannot live without?
Music. If that counts as a thing. Music.
Absolutely. What's one thing you wish you had known when you were in college?
I wish I had known that I was gonna end up in the United States. I was prepared. I learned Italian. I was going to Italy to do my master's, and chances I ended up coming to the United States, and it's been wonderful. But I wish I had known that. I don't know why. I should have. I would have learned English earlier, not at 24 years old. Hear the accent. But yeah.
Perfect. And our last rapid fire question for you tonight: what does it mean to you to be a mountaineer?
Someone that is resilient, that is brave, that is not afraid of what is out there, but is pretty sure of what is inside.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So we are now ready to ask you some questions from the audience.
Wonderful.
We have quite a few that folks have been waiting so patiently for. So now that we've all added some new music to our playlist and gotten some book recommendations, we are ready to throw you some questions from the audience. So
all right, big kind people.
They are all very kind. The first one, what has surprised you the most about West Virginia?
I have never worked in a place. You remember I said I learned Italian, I can speak Italian with so many Italian last names. I mean, I knew my professor at Virginia Tech was Italian descent and Hungarian, but I had no idea that there were so many Italian descent people, including my my backyard neighbor. And very giving people. He always bringing food to us. So I'm not complaining.
That's very relatable. Could you share some of the work that's being done by Extension to promote health and wellness in the state?
Yes, probably one of the most research and proven programs around health and wellness relates to nutrition education. So we have a food and nutrition education program that is funded through different ways from USDA. So that every state has one of those. Ours is amazing because you know how many things you can do related to improving your health and your wellness when you eat right and you do physical activity. So we work closely with those. The pharmacy program, which we are working very closely with, we have adopted basically that program actually works with health professionals because it's easy to, well, it's not easy, but it's simpler to think when you go to a medical professional that they'll give you a prescription that is typically for medicine. But what about a prescription for eating right, for going to a nutrition class, a dining with diabetes class, something that is going to help you figure out how to improve your health? Now, this is just one thing. We also have partnerships around obesity prevention. There's funding from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. that actually allow us to do additional work that involves research, but also application. And right now, hopefully we'll get it. I think we're going to get it. We are partnering with West Virginia State University. I know those folks from back in the day. So it was so good to be in the state finally and be working with them too. We are actually applying for funding for a vaccination awareness program. So we can actually enhance what we are doing and be able to help people, not only because of COVID, but be aware of the benefits and precautions and everything that you need to do to be able to stay healthy. There's a whole history of different programs that have been done around health from Extension, whether partnering with dentistry and looking at oral health and you name it. And health, when you think about the One Health concept, health encompasses many things, including agriculture. If we don't produce the healthy food that we need, we don't have access to it. If we don't think about city planning and avoid, food deserts or food swamps, which are even worse because what you can get is only, unfortunate food I'm gonna use that has no nutritional value, then we are not doing ourselves a favor.
Thank you for that overview. We have folks who are asking lots of great questions about some of your programs. Right. Our next one is about youth development. So what are some of the ways that Extension facilitates youth development in West Virginia?
Well, like I said before, the most noticeable program is 4-H. Mm-hmm. Second, Energy Express. So those two programs in themselves do a lot of things for our youth. We want our youth to be enhancing their knowledge from school. So we do a lot of school enrichment programming that supplements what they're learning in school with practical things. So a lot of the things that we do put children to do something and learn from doing. And one of our biggest, now nationally recognized programs is around STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and all that. We have just now finished a brand new building at Jackson's Mill dedicated to STEM for our youth. With Energy Express, people sometimes think of it as a nutrition program, but actually it's a literacy program. So we work with kids so they can have an edge. During the summer, sometimes there are a lot of losses in knowledge because you've been away from school, you lost the connection, and now during COVID even worse. We want to make sure that kids are reading at the level that they need to be reading in third grade so they can continue to advance and be able to be successful in finishing high school and then choosing their career path from there. Those are just a few examples, but we do a whole lot more things. I mean, in terms of outdoor recreation, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, civic engagement, government. We expose them to all kinds of different things so they can actually be great citizens and hopefully amazing stakeholders that will someday govern this nation.
I'm sure that
I have great faith in our West Virginians. They're awesome.
Yes. So earlier you mentioned.
I'm sorry, I have to say this too.
Please.
In partnership with Chambers, right, and with WV Forward, we have one faculty member that works closely with them, and there is a project called My Hometown is Cool. So kids are actually able to learn the amazing things about their own towns and be able to produce a video, and be able to enter a competition. And not too long ago, Dean Reyes and I were judging and being there and all that, and it was an amazing experience. If we don't put faith in our youth, what are we doing this for? Yeah.
I bet those videos were pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned the budget earlier, and we have and some resources, and so we have a question about the budget. Could you tell us about the extension budget at different levels? What sources are growing, which are diminishing? What does that look like in terms of a challenge for y'all?
Absolutely. So at the federal level, the budget for extension has been stagnant for years. In a way, we're actually grateful because that means they're not cutting us, but it has not grown. There are other areas that we have access to federally that may have grown and that we are able to compete for those funding. But extension is an infrastructure. For us to be able to be in every single county, you have to have what is called, capacity funding, and those come through the Smith-Lever Act funding, which is then matched by the state and also by the counties. So the state budget is, it's been good. This year I don't know yet how much we're gonna see reduced, but we always keep an eye on it. So the state budget, I hope it remains stable. I hope that someday we can grow it. And then the local community budgets, that varies according to how the economy is doing in those communities. How much property tax is coming into the hands of the boards of ed and the county commissioners. So that's the balance. Right now, I'm looking at all the finances. We are doing efficiencies in terms of how we look at these, and I'm learning more and more. So, like I said, we don't take anything for granted.
Sure. And so I have one last question for you from the audience tonight. Do you see extension as being relevant in the urban as well as the rural context? And how would you describe the urban relevance specifically, if you could?
Absolutely. So it's funny that you asked that, or whoever asked that question, because this morning we were actually holding, we are part of the Northeast region for extension and USDA. So we were actually talking about our Northeast region urban extension center. We are actively engaged in heightening our programming in urban areas. So here's the thing. We can only really do more in urban areas if we are able to have more bodies to do the work of extension. Traditionally, extension have had a pattern where you have the same amount of people, about the same amount of people in every county. I guess it felt the equitable thing to do, but I mean, with the exodus of families and groups to urban centers in looks for job and other things and services, we find ourselves, not having enough people to do all what we need to do. Extension in the city is typically very well known because of the Master Gardeners program. They're very popular, and it's a lot of 4-H happening too. So I think we ought to grow even further in terms of our scope and service for urban folks. People, and I'm glad that question is asked because people have always thought about extension as a rural program. And we should never forget our rural people, never. I am of the opinion that if we had broadband started in rural areas, this country will look a little bit different. So, but we can also ignore that we have a whole lot of people in urban areas, and we also have a mandate to serve them.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that very much. So before we send you off tonight, could you tell everyone how, if they would like to get involved or stay in touch, where are the best places to do that?
Well, if ever in doubt, the first thing you have to do, well, check us on the website. And I think, right there, you see our Facebook page, our Twitter, and our webpage, extension.wvu.edu. Easy. Check us out. Look at the amazing number of programs that we have. If you are in different parts of the state or even outside of the state, extension is everywhere. Pick up the phone, call your local county extension office. Hopefully they're open, because of COVID, depending on where you are. And, inquire, what do they offer? What are things that you may be able to learn from? And also, how would you like to volunteer? You might become a 4-H volunteer. You may become a Master Gardener volunteer. You may become an equine programming volunteer. You may, become part of CEOS. There are opportunities for you to be involved and actually help us multiply the knowledge that we can share and also the knowledge that we can gain for the people that we serve. And as an alum of the university, I tell you, you are also part of extension. So don't forget us and be able to take all of that you learn and all the wonders that you have done with your career. And let's just give that example to the people we serve so they know that there's hope, that there's no that there are opportunities out there. So I'll encourage you to become involved.
Absolutely. Hopefully after hearing this conversation tonight, there will be some folks who do just that.
I sure hope so.
Well, Dean Atiles, thank you for sharing some of your insight with us. Thank you for being willing to answer our big questions and our rapid fire questions.
Well, I'm sorry I wasn't so rapid answering, but
That's okay. I'm sure hopefully we'll see you hiking very soon. And we appreciate the recommendations for our playlists and for the libraries.
Yeah, there are a lot of good playlists out there. So,
well, thank you very much, and we hope that you have a great night.
You too.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
As we conclude this episode of our 5-question series, we hope that you will join us next week as we speak with key WVU leaders and researchers from the WVU Center for Excellence in STEM Education. We will hear about the unique and interactive programs geared towards increasing access to high-quality STEM education around West Virginia. We will see you next Wednesday, May 12th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining us tonight, and as always, let's go Mountaineers.